What's up, and welcome to my spoiler review of the Ballads and Songbirds and Snakes movie adaptation of Suzanne Collins' book of the same name, which is the Hunger Games prequel, set 64 years before the original. And like I said in the short, if you saw the short review, the short review I put up, the only real spoiler-free part of this is like, bad, good to decent movie, bad adaptation of the book. Did not represent the book well at all. That's, I guess that's the only spoiler-free part of it, but we can go from there. Like I said, on its own, the movie isn't bad. Like, I think if I hadn't read the book, I would have liked the movie way more. It still almost kind of felt like, even if I hadn't read the book, like, it felt, I guess part of the feeling of obviously going to come from me reading the book, it definitely felt rushed. It was rushed. The pacing was off. It's like, shit, what happened? And then I'd be like, we were moving on to the next part. And it's like, cause shit, I understand they have to skip shit. And not everything's gonna be in the movie. But it just felt off. Like, it just felt weird. Certain shit being skipped over or, like, breezed past. And, like, not letting it, really give it its full weight. I completely gotta blame the directing and the screenwriting for that. Just not adapting it that well to screen. It felt like they were just trying to breeze through shit just to meet a certain runtime instead of actually giving the story its full, like, weight that it should have, and really exploring the concepts and ideas and the psychology and the philosophy that's being explored throughout the book. It's more like, it's like taking this grand story and then, like, doing, like, a really light, simplistic version of it. But like I said, we gotta fit a runtime. The movie, obviously, it probably would have been twice as long. It would have been at least 4 to 5 hours if they had really stuck to the book more and, took their time going through the story more to hit the beats. But like I said, obviously, either the studio, they didn't want to do a longer movie, or the studio told them no, or they didn't want to do 2 movies, so they split it up into 2 movies, or the studio told them no. I don't know. So, I don't know which one it is. But like I said, they didn't do the book that good of a justice because it was too light of a version of it. And it just almost, it felt, I don't want to say like a cash grab, but it almost felt like a cash grab. Like they were like, yeah, we're definitely not gonna like go this deep with the movie, because the book we're not gonna go into all that. But we're gonna take like the main shit. We're gonna throw in a little bit of shit of our own and squeeze it into 2.5 hours and throw it out there, because we know since it's the name value Hunger Games, people are gonna go buy it, people are gonna go watch it, and we'll get our fucking money back and probably make some decent profit off of it. But they were like, they didn't care enough to actually put more of the book into the story and put more of the psychology and the philosophy aspects of it. They would lightly touch on shit and then move on to the next thing, and then lightly touch on it and then move on. It's like what really makes the book is the subtle shit, the intelligent shit, like I said, the philosophy exploration in it, the psychology of the characters. That's what makes the book so great. And then they just cut out or breezed over all of that shit, all the little shit, all the nuance, just to make a generic version of the movie, a generic version of the book that just doesn't really live up to it because they knew it would make money, but they didn't care enough to go as deep into it as they wanted to, and I knew, yes, we about to get into some spoilers, because I knew once they had once Brandy stabbed Arachne the way she did and the way they changed that scene, I was like, fuck. Because the one thing about this movie, there's no blood in this movie. Well, there's only like a little bit of blood and you don't even really see the blood. You kind of when Corio pops he pops his stitches on purpose. Yeah, because they changed this scene, so the way this scene happens in the book is different too. So the way he realizes that she's gonna dump the snakes into the arena, the way it happens in the book is that he's there and he already sees them moving the snakes, and he realizes it on his own while he's already at the Citadel. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. He's at the Citadel. He sees them moving the snake tank, and he's like, "Wait a minute." And he thinks back on some shit she said, and he was like, "Shit, she's gonna dump the shit." So then he takes then he remembers that he has the handkerchief in his bag. Then he never took it out, and he dumps it in, right? But then in the movie, what the fuck happened? In the movie, she comes on like mid Hunger Games, like during the games, she takes over the airwaves to announce that the boy was dead. The Capitol boy, one of the boys killed who got hit in the bombing, he's dead. And then she's like, I'm gonna unleash a rainbow of destruction on this bitch. And I'm gonna say, I fucking love that phrase, a rainbow of destruction. That is a good fucking phrase. But he hears that, and he's like, oh shit, she's gonna dump the snakes in the tank. So then he runs down there, pops his own stitches on purpose from when he had to go get Sejanus out of the arena, and he got stabbed up a little bit. So he pops his own stitches, and then you kind of see his blood. You see the blood start to flow through the shirt, but you don't actually see the wound or anything. So it's like he didn't want anyone to show blood. Even some of the kills in the when the games start, like they kind of felt a little lightweight. Like not only did they not show the blood, sometimes they wouldn't even show the stab. Like when a person would stab someone, they would like show them going down, but they wouldn't show. But then they would cut away from the actual stabbing part. Or like when Corio's beating up he's beating Bobbin to death. With the whatchamacallit, with the club, with the Brock or whatever. They don't show Bobbin. Like, I understand that I think that's another big, they wanted to squeeze this movie into 2.5 hours, and they really, really wanted to be PG-13 instead of rated R. And this is not a rated R story. I mean, this is not a PG-13 story. It is a rated, if they're showing the blood and really going there, would have made it rated R, I'd just say, fuck it. Make it rated R. Like, and I understand it's about the money. It's about some people won't let their kids go see a rated R movie. It's about, if it's PG-13, then high schoolers can get in without their parents, so they can go and you don't have to worry about bothering the parents. I understand all that. It was just, like I said, it's a bunch of, they turned it into a light version of the book. They didn't really want to go there, or they didn't even want to spend the time to give it what it should have been. So yeah, I was pretty fucking disappointed. Like, it was cool to see some of the scenes in the book that I had imagined, but then like even when they would show them, it would be like I said, they would breeze through shit, and they wouldn't get the time in it that it really would deserve, or they wouldn't really put any time into the nuance, and it was like, hmm. I said, I fully blame the writing and the directing, or like whoever decision it was to do it this way and, you know, squish it in like this. And like I said, either they just didn't want to spend the time, or the studio told them, no, we're not giving you the money for that, or I don't know. Also, a couple changes they made. Uh, like High Bottom's, like his vendetta against Koryo and his family. Like they were so outwardly with it, where in the book he's not as outwardly with it. I mean, Koryo knows he doesn't like him. He knows, uh, let's say he knows he doesn't like him, but he doesn't, he isn't as like forward with how much he doesn't like him in the book, like as he was in the movie. Like in the movie, he's like very, very forward with it. He's like, I know your family's poor. I know y'all ain't got a pot to piss in. I know. He's like, if you think I'm gonna let you win this money, even if she wins the Hunger Games, no, nigga. And in the book, and not only in the book, he didn't even have that choice. Let alone like he didn't even have to like in the same thing with the Plent Prize. In the movie, the Plent Prize is already an established thing that just I guess is just a given that whoever is the best student just gets the Flint Prize. Whereas in the movie, they say it's whoever the best mentor is, and then he goes on to be like, even if your candidate, even if your person doesn't win. Whereas obviously in the book, that's not what the fuck it was. In the book, it started off as he already knew going in there that day that to win the prize, to win a scholarship for college, it would depend on the Hunger Games. And yeah, they did say it didn't, the person didn't necessarily have to win. You just had to be the best mentor and be the best, you know, being a mentor and showing them off and making the spectacle, right? And then it turned into, after Sejanus did what he did by going into the arena, his dad had to create the Plent Prize to be like whoever's person wins, you get the prize. That's what it turned to after that. But then like it's like certain shit when they would change it, it would feel weird because it would kind of fuck with the motivation of the character because it would feel like, well, if he's not doing it for this reason, then why is he doing it? If they change that around, so it kind of would fuck with certain, you know, motivations and shit and certain logic of okay, well, if this hasn't even happened yet, then why is he doing it? And then it would happen, and it wouldn't have the same weight because, you know, the thing that set it up was either cut out of the movie or it was placed before instead of after. Such as the line, well, you can start by believing by thinking I actually have a chance to win. When she says that in the book, it was after the bombing, after she saved his life, and it had weight behind it because it felt like she was pointing out that she knew he didn't really believe in her, and she's like, "Look, nigga, I saved your life. Now you need to actually really make sure you're trying to help me win these games and help me keep my life." And he felt indebted to her because of that. Whereas, and which gave the line extra weight in the book, which as opposed to in the movie, she says it before the bombing. And I don't even think they see, well, yeah, they do see each other one more time before the bombing. I mean, after the bombing, before she goes into the arena. Whereas in the book, they hold off on the games for a little bit after the bombings and after Arachne's death and everything. They like, there's more time to let certain shit develop in the book. Whereas obviously, as we already established, since they were trying to squish this into a movie that was way too fucking short for the book they were working with, they just would feel weird at certain points because they were just breezing through shit or cutting shit out that kind of mattered. My biggest pet peeve of what they cut out, the fucking funerals, bro. The funerals, I know, and I know, because when I was reading the book, I was like I got to the funeral scenes, and I was like, what the fuck? Because the shit was just so crazy. And then they cut it out. They didn't even put it in the movie. I get that's like it's definitely not. I mean, I guess you can argue that it was PG. It would. I think it could work in a PG-13 movie. I mean, because I'm trying to think about the originals, right? I'm pretty sure the original four movies were also PG-13, and they showed blood in those movies. They showed. I'm pretty sure they showed blood in the original Hunger Games movies. Uh, like Snow literally has a thing where he's just coughing up blood. And I know when she shot the arrow in the president coin, they showed blood on that. So I'm trying to think, like, did they really not show blood in the original Hunger Games movies, or am I just tripping? Because when I got to this, and they was like refusing to show blood, refusing to really be as intense as they should have been with some of the kills. And that was like another thing, that when they would kill people, like in the fucking in the arena, when they would do kills, and like it felt like it wasn't even that intense as it should be. Like they was, like I said, they was just breezing through shit, or it just felt like so, like it felt low budget. Like they spent $100 million on this movie to make this movie, but it felt low budget anyway. Like, how do you take $100 million and make a low budget? Like, did y'all spend all that money on like Viola Davis and Peter Dinklage and Rachel Zegler's fucking salary? Did y'all was a bunch of that money just given to the advertising, or to given to the fucking what's her face, Suzanne Collins, for her fucking rights fee? Like, where did that money go? Because it felt like for this stuff, for $100 million, at some point it just felt like a low budget movie. Like, just the way they were just breezing through like it just felt off. Like, this didn't feel like some grand $100 million movie as like worthy of the book. Like, it felt like a cheap, light version because they didn't have enough money and enough time to really go as deep with it as they should have, as the book deserved. Talked about. I'm looking at my notes. I didn't think the character of Reaper. I don't understand why they made him like, so he obviously does the flag thing, but why did he looked into the kid? First off, when the little girl dies, when she takes, I do like the way they did that scene. They changed that, and I do like the way they changed that scene. It made it more. It definitely made you feel sorry more for her and Lucy for her dying that way, because Lucy didn't really intend for her to be the one to get the poison, but. So it did kind of I did kind of like that change, but it doesn't explain like the way he started streaming and shit when she died. Like, they didn't do that shit for a lot of reasons. That makes no sense. It really didn't make any sense. And then when he looks up at the camera and he's like, "Are you gonna punish me now?" That didn't make no fucking sense. Like, that's not what his character was like in the book. He wasn't just trying to be no outright rebel for just for the sake of being a rebel. He was like, look, they put us in the game. I'm about to kill all you. His name is fucking Reaper. Like, he's like, I'm killing all of y'all. I'm sorry. He did go. He went the night before they put him in the arena. He went to everybody and apologized for being like, I'm sorry for having to kill you tomorrow. I'm sorry for having to kill you tomorrow. I'm sorry for having to kill you tomorrow. And I'm sorry for having to kill you. He apologized to everybody for having to kill them the next day. he felt like being like, yeah, I'm gonna kill all of you, and I'm gonna survive. Sorry. But there was no fucking like he was way more serious than I'm making that sound. That scene isn't even in the book. We were told that he did it, but we don't see him do it. But he's definitely not. I don't get where that came from. Like I said, I think they just wanted to do something different. For the sake of doing something different. I guess. I didn't really have a problem with them killing the other tributes with the snakes instead of how it happens in the last like for 3, 4, 5 tributes all get killed by the snakes, when in the book it was only like 2 of them got killed by the snakes, and then Lucy kept a snake and killed like that wasn't the end of the games. But I'm trying to say like it was in the movie. I don't really have a problem with them ending the game that way. I guess, like I said, they just wanted to breeze through it. If you want to breeze, just breeze through it and change it. I guess that way kind of works. So I'm not really mad at that. I do have an issue with the fact that they took they changed the effects of what the snake bite actually does to you, with the way it was described, what happened to Clemencia. I'm pretty sure it was Clemencia. When they what they do, like it changed the color of her face and all that. Like it changed her coloring and made her basically a rainbow color and all that. Like they changed that shit. You didn't get the scene in the hospital when Clemencia comes in there and goes off on choreo, and she looks off. It's like shit like this. It's like when I was reading the book, I was really excited to see how the shit would look on the movie, like the big budget $100 million movie. I wanted to see how these effects would look, but then they didn't even fucking do it. I was like, what the fuck? And then what else? Yeah, I didn't really have an issue with them, with them doing it that way. It did kind of look cool with people drowning in the snakes. It did kind of look cool, I ain't gonna lie. And then when she wins, and like Gull is obviously pissed that the snakes aren't biting her, because he can tell, she knows something had to have happened for them to not be biting her. So I'm kind of like, and then she's like kind of debating whether to even take her out the arena or not, or just, I don't know what it would be, even because if the snakes aren't going to bite her and kill her, what was she thinking about doing? Just like having a peacekeeper go in there and shoot her or something? But then she lets her go, and like, all right. Then yeah, we get the scene. Choreo goes down there, and the stuff is laid out on the table, and he's like, what's his face? High Bottom's like, yeah, nigga, you got caught cheating, nigga. And they said that shit. And when they said that shit at the beginning of the movie, he's like, cheating would not be. I'm like, who would even think to cheat? That's kind of the whole point of part of what adds to Choreo cheating, is that like no one would have even thought to cheat. No one would have even thought that there was a way to cheat. But he was smart enough to figure out how to do it because he's so fucking smart. And so it's like they were dumbing down certain shit in the movie because they felt like people who didn't read the book and were just going to go see the movie were too dumb to understand certain shit. And so it made someone who did read the book just really annoyed when they would do that. And we're going to get to when they also do it again at the end of the movie in a way that was just so fucking annoying. But yeah, that wasn't the only time. I can't even think. It's like outside of my head, top of my head. There were other times in the movie where it felt like they were just dumbing shit down and like explaining shit that didn't need to be over explained, especially if you read the book. But it was like, bruh, Come on, bro. That's the thing. They didn't really explore the philosophy stuff as much. They would touch on certain shit like the control versus freedom thing. They touched on that like a little bit. Like, I think they gave it like one or two scenes. No, one or two lines about the idea of, the Lucy and Corio's disagreement about, control versus freedom, the capital, versus just going and living out in the wilds and living in the woods with freedom and no government to rule over you. They gave that like two lines. Then, with Gaul, they didn't really explore as much, the eternal war, the real reason she really keeps the games going. Not just necessarily to punish the districts, but she's punishing them. She's doing two things. One, she wants to prove that people are all just animals, and that if you take away government and rules and everybody would just devolve and just into animals and just kill each other, which I think is probably true. But the point is, that's part of the reason, and part of the reason why she's using children is because, even children who, like Sajena said, were like 2 years old when the war ended, or 10 years old when the war, or 10, between 2 to 8 years old when the war ended. And obviously they didn't fight in the war and they didn't kill anybody. The reason why and then obviously later on in this series, 64 years later, they're using children who weren't even born. Their parents weren't even born yet when the war happened. But the reason why they're using children is to prove that even children can just turn into killers and just be cold-blooded killers if you put them in the right circumstance. So what does that say about the rest of us? The adults. That's the reason why they use children. So that's part of it. The second part of it is the eternal war. The idea that the war, even though the war's been won, the war never ends. We never stop being at war. We're always in war in one form or another. Whether it's metaphorical, symbolic, proxy war, economic war, cyber war, we're always at war. We'll always be at war because there's always a threat that someone's going to take you out. And you always need to be on your game and be one step ahead. The Hunger Games is their way, it's Gaul's way of being one step ahead. Like, how can you fight us back when we are exerting so much power, so much oppressiveness over you that you, and like I said, we're making you, that you can't even, you can barely take care of yourself. How are you going to take care of yourself and fight a war against us? You feel me? Like, it's like extra beating them down into submission. And obviously it works for at least another 64 years until Katniss comes along. So was she really wrong? I don't really think so. I mean, it worked for like 75 fucking years. So clearly she wasn't all wrong. And I think there's going to be another video on that. The idea of, in a way, what we get by the end of the story in Mockingjay in the third original book, in a way, almost kind of proves Snow and Gaul right. Even though he dies and he loses at the end of the Second War, he still kind of gets proven right. But that's another video. We're not gonna talk about human. Well, yes, you're talking about human nature a little bit. But yeah, they skipped over all that deep shit, all that exploration, is thinking about it, and the counter arguments and the back and forth. They skipped so much. I don't want to say they didn't mention the Eternal War at all. That idea, they skipped over it, and it was just like the reason why we have the Hunger Games is because the world is the arena, and like we're the victors. Or I guess somebody was trying to get at is like it was almost touching it, the idea of the Eternal War, but like he didn't actually go into it. He's like barely grazed over it. And I'm like, bruh, this book is deeper than this. Come on. And obviously we had Janice playing the role of, he doing his thing, how his character was in the book. They kept him the same, so he was like, he would throw counter arguments out there, here and there. But like I said, everything was kind of mostly, and even in the book, he wasn't the only one who had counter arguments and was questioning everything. Everybody was, even Snow. Everybody was, but they don't really do that. They don't really go that far into it in the movie. It looks like everybody was just blindly on board with the Capitol, and so Janice is like the only one who has something to say. Maybe Tigress a little bit. Well, yeah, well, not a little bit, but Tigress a little bit, and Corio just kind of feels a little bad. He kind of feels bad a little once he develops a few feelings for Lucy. He kind of feels bad for her a little bit, but in the book he questions what they're doing to everyone. Like everyone questions it except for Gaul. Gaul is the only one who's 100% in on this shit in the book. Like everyone questions it, and then obviously by the end, then Corio comes 100% around. He's like, no, I'm 100% behind this shit. Capitol, Hunger Games, let's do it. By the end, but like in the movie, everyone's just like kind of blindly not thinking about it or questioning anything except for Janice. And I said it kind of lost over a lot of the nuance and the philosophy and the psychological beats of the story. And they kind of replaced that idea with this idea of that Corio is just turning into his father slowly. And they like I said, they glossed over the thing with his mom and the rose and like the rose, the smell of rose or whatever in her compact. I don't think they ever show him smelling anything. So like they didn't really go in on that. It was more about I think it was more like he's not good enough to live up into his father's image until the end, and then he's finally good enough to be in his father's image. Like that's what he was trying to do all along, when he was really not trying to do that. He was more like I want to do it for the family in general and for me. He wasn't trying to live up to his father's image. Although I'm not necessarily mad at the line that Tigress says at the end when she's like, when she sees him and he has the different hairstyle, he has like his hair slicked back or something like that, and he has like his university clothes on, and the grandmam's like, oh, you look all pretty, you look all handsome and all that, and then he asks Tigress. And in the way he asked Tigress what she thought, it was almost like he was challenging her because he knew that she would he knew she had some, I guess you could say, some rebel in her, and that's why he asked her. Like he was challenging her. Like they're already kind of was trying to sow the seed of her like them eventually falling out and her being on the rebel side in the next one. Like I said, for people who didn't read the book, when in the book they don't really. Like, they show that that she's more compassionate and shit. And, like in the movie. But they don't, that scene isn't in the book. Like, you're almost mostly left with no real explanation or major clue as to why they eventually fall out. I have my own theory. My theory is pretty much just eventually he probably asked her to, he probably tried to prostitute her out and she said no, and that's why he fired her. Or she did too many, she fucked her face up so much with the plastic surgeries that he was just so disgusted by her that he didn't want her around. And he knew even if he wanted to prostitute her out, nobody was gonna want her anyway because she looks like shit. And that's saying something for the Capitol and the way they do the body modifications and the way they look, in the originals. Even he looked at her and he was like, what the fuck did you do to yourself? And that's why he kicked her out. Whereas here, that they almost kind of saw in the season that, oh, she just has some moral superiority over him. She's such a good person, and she sees that he's evil, and that's why she leaves him. And when by the time she stops being, close with him, when that's probably not what happened. So that's my only real issue with that line, and them trying to play the whole he's turning into his father thing. Like, it wasn't nowhere near as big of a plot point in the book. It was like a minor point, but it was always mostly about him, not his father. Like, even like he said he barely remembers his father, and like, yeah, I guess almost in his delusion, he clings to his dad to his dad's compass at the end. And they even glossed over that kind of. Like, he just flipped it open and it's like they would do shit. Either they would cut shit or they would do it, but just breeze past it. And and not do any. It's definitely not an acting problem. Because that's like one of the two things I really liked about the movie was the acting and the set design. I fucked with the set design and the way shit looked. It looked grand. It looked grand, but it felt low budget. But like just the movie itself and the way it plays this, and I felt like the actors really understood their characters. I felt like the actors read the books and really understood their characters. Even if the script was fucking shit up, the actors still tried their best to still do and say it how their characters would say it or do it, even if it was different from what it was in the book. And so I really commend the actors for that. Once he starts, so Janice's execution, like I think his name is like Jose Andres or something like that. He's actually Rachel Zegler's boyfriend in real life. So that's something that was interesting. I was looking around searching about who these people were. The guy who plays Janice and the girl who plays Lucy Gray are together in real life. I guess they did another movie together and that's how they met. But they when he gets killed, I mean, they kind of fucked the scene up. But they played the recording that Corio made. I'm like, let's run through the logic of this. No one's really supposed to know he made the recording. So if you play that recording, this logically, he's most likely the one who recorded it. So that's why, like, then when they played the recording, and then Lucy at the execution, and Lucy, she kind of had this look on her face, like she instantly knew he made the recording, because who the fuck else would make the recording? So I was like, maybe they're gonna, and then like like I said, it was like an over explanation thing. Like they're trying to, I was like, maybe that's why they were trying to like over explain the fact that she leaves him at the end because she knows he kills Janice. But then they do something else that was kind of dumb on that scene. But one thing about the executions that kind of did, I was like, oh shit, with the Jabberjays repeating, or was it the Mockingjays? I think it was the Mockingjays. Yeah, the Mockingjays repeating everyone's last words. That was they really did that. They did that good. That shit sent that gave me chills, bro. When they did that shit, when the Jabber's face was like repeat Arlo's last words, and then they repeated what's his face's Sejana's last words. That shit gave me chills. But then last I just felt like that was just so weird them playing recording at the execution, because just the logic of it immediately implicates Corey. And if anybody in the audience didn't immediately think Corio did it, then they're just fucking retarded, because it just it was like a logic, just like a blank. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I just threw my hands up in the theater. I was sitting there like, what the fuck is this? That doesn't make sense, because but it, like, you can't play the recording and then have the other characters not address the shit to him, because he's the only one who could have made the recording, pretty much. I mean, you could argue that somebody else could have been standing there and listening on them, but most likely he's the one who made the recording, which he did. But for the other characters to not call him out on that, was just like, what the fuck? And then let's go to the cabin scene. Then Lucy Gray, when he's with Lucy Gray, at the cabin. So even if we skip over the fact that they took out the whole, they already had went fishing and he didn't catch anything, and he was like, they even like kind of breezed over the whole idea of him being like not liking the outdoors and not liking being out in the woods. When like they're like he's walking there with the cubby, and he like swats at his neck when like a bug tries to like bite him. Like, that was the only real reference they gave to him not liking the woods. But they didn't address it here in this scene, like, because like we say it when because actually in that scene with the cubby, he liked the woods and he was cool with it. And he thought maybe it would be nice to come and live out here in the woods with Lucy Gray. He didn't really change his mind on that until this scene. So it's like I said, I don't know what the fuck that noise is. Messing up like the order of shit. And then so in this scene, all of a sudden it's cool. Then they go into the cabin. They haven't fished yet, and she tells him to get the fishing rods out of the floorboard, and that's where he finds the guns hidden in there, which in the movie obviously they're not hidden, they're just in there. I was like, you could argue that makes sense. Like, why would he have put the guns in there and not hidden them? Just had them sitting in there in the bag. But the issue is, I mean, I guess I don't have an issue. It doesn't really matter. It's just nitpicking, I guess, that she doesn't take the knife out of the bag, that it was already just randomly there. I guess you could argue that they would have a knife right there for getting the plants, or I don't know what else. So she already has a knife, and then she's like, then they're like super obvious about the whole, well, if I destroy these guns and I kill you, then no one can stop me from going to be an officer. Because he didn't think about it, in the book, he didn't tell her about that. So like, it made shit more like I said, subtle. And when she runs off, it's it's more unexpected. Like, I only kind of expected it because I already kind of had, well, I didn't fully expect it. I knew she would disappear at the end of the book, based on a spoiler I already had, but I didn't know how it would happen or the circumstances. So it makes it more, like it sneaks up on you a little bit more. Whereas in the they're so like ink. I don't want to say ink. They're so obvious about this. So he picks up the gun, and she's like, "This the like this is the stuff." That what's his name? Spruce. He had hid in the cabin. So I guess Spruce knew about the cabin too. And then she's like, "Oh, so you can that means you can destroy the guns now and go back and be an officer and go back to the Capitol, and no one will be able to tie you to the murders except me." He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And it was like, it's just so weird having her say that, because in the book he thinks this shit, this is what's going through his mind, but it's like, you didn't have to say that out loud. Like I said, this another part I'm saying, like, they dumbed it down for the audience because they thought the people who didn't read the book was too dumb to understand it. So they dumbed it down and just made it weird. Like, that's like her giving her that dialogue was just so fucking weird, hearing her say that shit. It's like, oh, so if you destroy the guns, there won't be anything left to tie you to the murders. And you can go back to the Capitol. Except me. Like, what? and then she's not even any time suspicious about it, if I'm even using that fucking word right. She takes the fucking knife, then she goes out and she's like, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go get some cat in this room. It's like super fucking obvious that she's leaving. Why? And it's super obvious why she's leaving, and it's like it just takes. It's made it weird, and then and he goes out into the woods. He goes out there. He puts the guns. He wraps up all the guns except the one, and he puts them in the what's it called? In the boat, in his canoe. And it's like, why does he have the one gun out if he wasn't going? Because in the book, he already he was holding the gun, and he kind of just walked out there with it without really thinking about it. And then he's like, "Oh shit, I'm holding this gun. It kind of looks weird, don't it?" And he wants to put the gun down, but then he's like, no. And he kind of goes into his own head too much, and he doesn't put the gun down. But he thinks about it, right? Whereas in the movie, it's like he wraps up all the guns, because he hadn't wrapped the guns up yet. But in the movie, it's so set. It's like such an obvious setup, and it's weird because he walks out with all the guns wrapped up except for the one, with seemingly no intention of why he would not wrap that one gun up. And then he looks across at the riverbank, and he sees that she's not there getting the potatoes, getting the Katniss. Which is that's in the book that he noticed that she wasn't over there, and it looked like she hadn't been over there. She never went over there. And then he just to walking through the woods, he's calling out her name. He's like, you. And then I didn't have an issue with that part. There were parts of this scene that I really liked, and felt like it was really good at being slow and suspenseful and building up to what the fuck was gonna happen. When he's following her footprints and all that. And then he finds the scarf, Which I didn't have an issue with them changing it from a head scarf to to a body to a shawl. I didn't have an issue with it that much. Then she hides the fucking snake under the shawl and it bites him. And like it's pretty obvious in this scene that it was on purpose. Where some people in the books, in the way it happens in the book, some people think it wasn't on purpose because, yeah, some people think it wasn't on purpose, but it's pretty obvious in the movie that it was on purpose and she did intend for that snake to bite him. I don't really have an, I don't think I really have an issue with that because, personally, I already believed that it was on purpose anyway, but I mean, I don't have as much of an issue with them making it so obvious. But then the what's it called? He goes. So then he goes like on the hunt for her, right? He goes to freaking out, and I think this is like one of the only scenes in the movie that they did really, really well, which is him just there crying, realizing that she left him, and like asking like, is that shit poison? Like, is that poisonous? Are you trying to kill me? And him just kind of having a moment of silence, and he's like silently like he's crying a little bit. Well, like he's not sobbing, but like tears are coming down. He's like, and you kind of see him go from sadness to anger, and he throws down the shawl, which is almost like obviously metaphorically him kind of like throwing away like his mom, kind of like what in the book was symbolized by ours by him, throwing away the pictures. I think he had pictures of her, pictures of the family. He threw them away. He threw away her the paste, not the paste, the fucking the rose scented thing from her compact because they get too wet up in this scene. But in here they didn't show that, so all they showed was him just throwing down the scarf, and he's like, all right, fuck this shit. And he picks up the gun and he goes on the hunt. I feel like they slowly worked their way through that scene, and they actually took their time with that part. And I'm like, why couldn't you do that with the rest of the movie? Like the subtleness and like the shift of like from sadness and genuine hurt to outright anger, and just turning turning from like a a lost, almost a, I don't want to say in the abandonment he feels from her running out on him, to just anger, to like just turn into like a hunter, like I'm gonna fucking kill you, bitch. And he didn't even say any word. I don't think he said any words after that. There was no dialogue after that. It was just his facial features and his movements, and I was like, see, that's why I said I fuck with the actors. Cause if he could do that, they could have done the rest of the shit in the movie that they skipped over and didn't want to do. And like I said, the subtle shit. And then he walks through the trees. Then when he takes that shot at her, you actually see her running, and he aims and he shoots. Right, he hears the sound, he hears her making a noise. He picks up his gun, he takes a shot at her. He sees her, he takes a shot. Whereas in the book, he just hears her and he shoots where he thinks he heard her. He shoots where he thinks she is. And she does make it. He hears a noise, so that's how we're not sure. Did he hit her? Did he not hit her? Did he hit like the tree that was by her or the ground by her feet and it was so close and that's why she made the noise? No, we don't know. I don't like that they, like in the movie, I think them actually showing her running and showing him see her run and take the shot, it added to the suspense in the movie. And like seeing her go down, like him take the shot, her go down, it added to the suspense. Oh shit! It's like he really don't like see her body, like he actually want to kill her, in the movie. But I'm like, if he wasn't actually gonna end up, if they weren't actually gonna show him kill her, and if they weren't really gonna show her dead, then I don't feel like they should have shown her run through the. I don't think they should have shown her in that scene. They should have just did it how they did in the movie, where he just heard her, and he shot where he heard her. He heard her without actually seeing her. Because and then he goes over there and she's gone, but one of her earrings is there, which shows that it was real. She was really there. He really took the shot. We don't know if he hit her or not. There was no, but then again, they didn't show blood throughout the rest of the movie. So even if there wasn't a blood trail, that doesn't mean anything because there was no blood in the rest of the movie. So he picks up her earring, keeps it, and then that's when he leaves and he dumps the fucking he dumps the guns and he leaves and he goes back to the Capitol. We get the ending. He kills High Bottom. Shout out the scene where he killed High Bottom. I did like. There's a part of me that wanted when High Bottom died for the camera like slowly pan away to the door, like to the front of the class, and see Corio still standing there, like looking at him. But I'm not. That isn't how it happened in the book. But there was a part of me that kind of like, well, you already changed other shit. You might as well change this too. I wanted that, or even for it to happen when Corio was still standing there, like standing over him for like the symbolicness of it. Like he has his clothes on, his new hairstyle. He's standing over him. Well, he's a midget and he's sitting down. So, and then he takes the drink, and then dies. But it does obviously make sense that it would happen when he's already left because that's the way it happened in the book. And he doesn't. In other scenes, he doesn't drink the fucking morphine while people are watching him. So it does make sense that he would do. So I'm not really too mad about that. Like I said, it didn't happen that way in the book anyway, but it would have been a cool shot. And then obviously the movie ends with Corio walking up to the Statue of Liberty, modified Statue of Liberty, because this land, the Panem, it takes place in a distant future, in North America. So we don't know if there's actually other countries in like Europe, in the land that was Europe or Asia or Africa, but we know that Canada and U.S., Mexico, no more. We don't know. I don't think we know about South America, but at the very least, Canada, Mexico, and U.S. are no more, and that all that land is now Panem. And parts of Canada that aren't Panem anymore, that aren't Panem, but used to be former Canada, are considered like the wilds. There's no government there. So, and taking the Statue of Liberty and instead of, her being like a beacon, having the torch, being a beacon of hope, she's now, a warrior. And like a warning, like don't fuck with us. It isn't, come here and live out your dreams. It's do not fuck with us. We're fucking warriors, motherfucker. So I like that Statue of Liberty, modified Statue of Liberty, and the way the movie ends. I fuck with that. But like I said, I didn't like the way they changed certain shit. Oh yeah, I think the way they ended it, that the scene in the woods, it kind of makes it obvious that she survived. If you think about it, because like you said, she disappears, then she then like he sees her, takes a shot, he goes over there, and she disappears, which really doesn't make sense if you think about it, because he sees her pretty fucking clearly through the trees. So if she was to get up and run or walk away. He should have seen her do that because it was a pretty clear sight. Like it wasn't like it was he could barely see, or like I said in the book, it gives like it phrases it like there's enough cover, there's enough trees, there's enough leaves, trees and leaves in there that he can't see her. Like he doesn't see her at all in that entire scene. He hears her, but he doesn't see her. So having the space be open enough where he could see her kind of fucks with the logic of her being able to just get up and walk away after he shoots at her. Do you see what I'm saying? So like yeah, it adds to the drama of the scene when he takes the shot because and you see her go down because it makes it like oh shit, like until he walks over there, he's like oh shit, like did she fucking die? But then when he gets over there and she's gone and it's only her fucking earring, and then like it's over, it kind of like it kind of makes you question the logic then because it's like if he can see her that clearly and take that shot, and we see her go down, why the fuck couldn't he see her just get up and walk away? Because I'm assuming that he wouldn't have taken his eyes off that spot. He would have stayed looking dead ass at that fucking spot. So if she got up and walked away, he should have saw her. You feel me? You could maybe argue there was enough room for her to, instead of getting up straight and walking or running off, there was enough room for her to crouch, that she could have crouched or crawled over. But at that point, I think he's kind of grasping at straws, and it was just really annoying. Really kind of like I said, the movie felt like a dumbed down version of the book. A dumbed down, low budget version of the book, even though it was $100 million movie. But yeah, disappointing as it was. Big shout out to the actors for doing their part, and it seemed like they really read the book and understood their characters and really tried, even when the script was, messing with shit, to stick to who their characters were. Even when the script didn't really give them as much juice as the book gives them to really show their characters off. And that's my review of the movie in an hour. If you're still watching, shout out to you. Yeah. I mean, at least we got some good music out of it. Her singing was way better. Her singing was really good. Yeah, so I might do that now. I might do that today. Go through the soundtrack that's released on streaming services today. So I'm gonna go through that soundtrack, listen to that. Oh yeah, she didn't fucking sing the Hanging Tree song in the movie. So she sings. So you have the scene where he goes and sees her for the first time in 12, and she's singing it when she's alone. And she sings the beginning of the song. And then at the end, she sings that ending part with the wear a necklace of rope and then the birds. But she never sings the whole song in the entire movie. It's on the soundtrack, her singing the whole song. And I thought it was, in the way it sounds on the soundtrack, it sounded like they filmed the scene where she sings it, but it's not in the movie. I don't know if they did film it. But then again, I think they might have. No, well, because they might in the movie. That's the scene. That's how she tells him to meet her at the hanging tree. When they run off to the cabin. But that's what happens in the book. In the movie, he tells her to meet him at the hanging tree, and there's no song or anything. So, like I said, certain shit would happen out of order, and it would just feel weird. So, yeah. I think about the hanging tree song. It's a really important part of the book because, like I said, it's part of the key of. It's one of the key setups of setting up to lead you into the main trilogy. how, she's now a ghost that haunts him, and that song being brought back up, and the Covey songs being brought back up, is like it's supposed to symbolize like her ghost, the ghost of Lucy Gray, haunting uh Snow 64, 65 years later. That's what that's supposed to symbolize now, retroactively with this book. Obviously, it's not what it was in the originals, but now when you include this book into it, that's what it represents. So that's an important part of the fucking movie. The story and the fact that she doesn't even sing the song in the movie is fucking crazy. Like I said, they dumbed it down because they didn't think movie viewers would be smart enough to comprehend it the way people who read the book and comprehended what was happening. But I digress. And also, that fucking scene with the fucking birds at the end, where they're supposed to be singing the song after her. I'm just like imagining this grand, loud, damn near shaking the speakers fucking scene, all the fucking birds singing the song, and it wasn't even that loud. And they didn't even sing the song. They whispered. No, not whispered. They whistled it. And I was like, I thought Mockingjay sang. Because I thought Mockingjays like took what you said and sang it back out. They were whistling the song. I was like, what the fuck? This is not how this is not as grand as it should have been. It's supposed to be like this big grand scene where he's hunting her down, and then there's silence. He takes a shot. There's more silence, and she's not there. And then all of a sudden, you just hear her start singing the song. And then then he's about to go back. He looks over to where she is, to where like the sound of her singing came from, and he's about to go over there and finish her off. And then he gets distracted by the first bird and the second bird. Then boom, then all of a sudden the entire forest is just filled, and it's loud as fuck, and it's filled with the sound of all these birds flying around and singing the song. And I was not, and it, like I said, first off, they whistled the song, they didn't sing it, and it wasn't as loud as it should have been to really up the drama and up the, like I said, man. And like it makes it sound like she obviously survived. Like in the book, is up in the air whether she survives or not. I think she survives her encounter with him. I think he either didn't shoot her, or he shot her somewhere where she that's not life threatening, like arm or leg, and either she gave herself, either she knew how to do first aid and she did that, so or she died from an infection from the shot, or she committed suicide. I think she probably committed suicide. I think he missed the shot and didn't shoot her. And that she only like cried out because the shot almost hit her, like really, really close. And then when he leaves, she lives in the woods for a while, and then she commits suicide when the loneliness and everything just becomes too much for her. I think that's what happened. Or she didn't even wait, and she just immediately committed suicide as soon as he left. Because that's what she always intended to do. Because the Hanging Tree song is literally about committing suicide with your lover. Like, that's what it's about. It's like, hey, no, let's not let the government control us. And it's better, let's just die together. Let's just go commit suicide together. That's what the song, that's a big idea of the song. And I think she knew that he wouldn't want to be with her anymore. She knew she couldn't trust him anymore. After she realized he most likely was the one who, he was almost definitely the one who, turned into Janice. And now that he had the guns from the murder that he could destroy, she would be the only one left. Like, and even in the book, it's kind of left up to interpretation whether she actually made these observations or if he's just going there in his mind and she didn't even realize any of this shit. And I think we can talk about that in another video. We interpret that scene from the perspective of the book, not the movie, and figure out what actually happened to her. I think she probably committed suicide, but I could be wrong. But my main thing is, why did she take the knife? You could say she took the knife because she said she was going to cut up Katniss' root, and that was her kind of like reason to leave the cabin. But other than that, but you could also say she didn't. Would she really needed the knife for that? Couldn't she just pulled him out? Isn't that what the boy does in the movie? Doesn't he just pull him up, not with a knife? So why did she take the knife? If she wasn't gonna use it to kill Corio, would she use it to kill herself? It's an idea. We can discuss it in another video. This video is already over an hour long. I don't know if anybody's still watching this fucking video right now. But that's my thoughts on the movie. Yeah. Close, but no cigar.